We are very pleased and honored to have the next guest here to speak to us, Shawn LeMONE from ASCAP. He is the VP and GM of Film and Television and New Media for ASCAP. And it's fabulous to have him here to talk about music rights and publishing and all of that. So he's an advocate on behalf of film, television, and video game composers and resolves high-level crediting and distribution issues. His department is responsible for serving ASCAP's composer members and maintaining a strong market share across all audio-visual mediums. So please give a round of applause for Shawn LeMONE.
I'll stand right here. Thank you, Aaron. This is a small group, and it feels kind of intimate, and I hate making speeches. So as I'm heading through my slides, if anyone wants to stop me and ask anything, just like stop me, like, and raise your hand and say, Shawn, I want some more information on that. So I'm going to talk about music as an asset. And I think that's an area that most of the people in this room understand, but many of the people that you interact with don't. So hopefully the information that I have for you here today, you can take away and educate others. So this is me. I'm going to talk about rights as a bundle of rights. It's very important that you understand that there are separate rights for the different ways that music is used, and some of this stuff may already be like known to all of you, and if it's not, then that's great too. There's basically a mechanical right, which is the right to replicate the work. Typically, that's the right to make it on a CD, on an MP3 file, and go out there and sell the work. There's a performance right, which is what ASCAP does. That's the right to broadcast, stream, transmit the audio either online, off of a radio station, a network, a cable station, mobile device, etc. Grand rights are the rights involved when you take a song and you have it in a musical theater work. Synchronization licensing. That has been talked about a lot, and I asked about it there like in the last one. That's a very important right here, because anytime that you take a song, a cue, and you synchronize it to any kind of AV work, a film, an advertisement, a video game, you have to obtain the synchronization right for that. And it's also important to understand that there's two distinct underlying works. There's the master recording, okay, and then there's the composition, and those are separate sets of like ownership. Mechanical rights, as I said. Okay, here we go. Yes.
Check to check. Yeah, there we go. You got it? All right.
Sounds good.
I just wanted to try out my radio voice on y'all. Is it good? Okay, you can take the mic back. Cool. When you hear the terminology 15K aside, which two of those rights are aside?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that would mean that there's $15,000 being paid for the master, and then $15,000 being paid for the underlying work.
Oh, so it's master and underlying. It's not like synchronization and performance.
Well, because the master also entails a that when you get a sync right, you have to pay for both of those things. So you have to pay the sync to the owner of the master, and then you have to pay a sync to the owner of the underlying work.
Okay.
Okay?
I think I got it. Thanks.
Cool. Where am I? So as I said like earlier, mechanicals are basically where you see income from that is from sales of CDs, downloads off of iTunes, things like that. So if you were to have a soundtrack and you were to say, like, how do I like monetize this? It's the sale of the soundtrack, and that's the right that's like, that this involves here. Basically how that works is the retailer will report the sale to the master owner. So that would be a record label, a game owner, a studio, And then they in turn would report those sales to the publisher. The publisher gets paid at this time 9.1 cents per track. They in turn have to share that with the writer of the work. And if there's an advance or something that the writer has to recoup, then that money could be applied against that advance. Yes, in the front. 50% is kind of the standard, but that's something that's it's not statutory, but that's kind of the industry standard. Yeah, in the back there.
I just love this mic. Hi, everybody.
Sounds good.
Is the 9.1 cents, is that regardless of the MSRP on the track, like whether the track sold for 99 cents or $1.99, or, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. So there's, I mean, well,
regardless
there's,
of how much it's sold for, it's
there are complications to that, where if you're doing a large, if you're doing compilation albums, or if you're doing a very large album, you know, that rate could fluctuate. Usually it goes down. Yeah. I mean, it is impossible that you could have a song in a game used in a musical, and that would actually be kind of cool. But if that happened, that can actually make a lot of money. I mean, if you were to have like Halo, the musical, you know, and I think that would be huge. I mean, they've got Spider-Man out there now, right? And that is basically they would set a fee where the writer of the songs and publisher like of the songs actually gets a slice of the box office for like everyone that comes and sees it. So it's not set at any kind of statutory rate, and often you can make a lot of money off of this, although it's kind of abstract for this audience, but who knows? Yep.
If I understand this, if I bring out an app, let's say a game with my favorite song in an instrumental version that sells for like $5, I get $3.50 from Apple, and I will pay 9.1 cents for every copy internationally.
Well, if you actually own all the rights, then you would get like 100%. That 9.1 cents would be the statutory rate that the record label would be obligated to pay the publisher.
All over the world?
Right, but if you owned all the music, then 100% of it is yours. So, I mean, like whatever that iTunes would take off the top, you get everything else. But say that you had a deal with Interscope or something like that.
So licensing my favorite song is extra?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I understand.
Licensing my favorite song would be extra?
So this isn't a song that you wrote?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about a song that you wrote. Okay, if you wanted to license your favorite song for what?
For a game.
For a game. All right. Well, then that would be whatever the fee that they feel is fair to ask you to pay.
Okay.
Yeah. Synchronization rights, again, I think this is important because that's what you just asked me about. If you wanted to license a song for a game that you're doing, you're looking for the synchronization rights to use that song to synchronize that track with your game. You would have to obtain the synchronization from the master owner as well as the underlying work again. And each of them can set their own rate. Usually they are equal, but if you, and sometimes, you know, you can't afford to pay the amount of money that the master owner is asking for. So, I want that song, so you may ask another artist to re-record it, in which case you're paying whatever the artist fee is to re-record the song, but you still have to pay the synchronization to the underlying work publisher. I don't know if that makes any sense. Yeah. Well, the composition rights is, again, the underlying work. So the publisher owns all of that. You know what? I'm like, dawning on me, I'm saying the same things over and over again. But I want to make sure that you guys understand this because it's so often misunderstood. So if you want to see it in two different sets of ownership, composition, right? In most video games, either you're licensing a song that already exists and putting it in the game. Most of the time, the original owner of the song will not let you obtain ownership of it. You're just being granted a license to use the song in the game. If they're hiring you to write original compositions for the game, then it's called a work for hire. And they're going to own all the music because they're asking you to write it and paying you a fee for it. And that's kind of the industry standard on TV, film, advertising, and elsewhere. So in that sense, and at that point, the video game company is the owner of the original score that they ask you to write. Revenue is based on that from synchronization licenses, again, from any kind of mechanicals, which would include sales, as well as royalties, from ASCAP and elsewhere. On the other side, on the master side, the owner is whoever made the recording. Typically, that will be a label, video game entity, or it could be an artist. So if you're in your own studio and you make a song and you record that song, at that time you own that. Now, if you're under a record deal, they may own everything that you do. Or if you're not, you may go and you may try to sell that right to a record company, and then at that point they would be the owner of the master. Revenue is based mostly on the sales, okay, but is also based on the synchronization licenses. Okay, what rights do I have? So if you're building a video game and you're saying, what is exciting about this? You know, what are the assets that I now own? You're the owner of all the music that you had written originally for the game, that you hired Aaron to write and you paid him a fee. You're going to own all that unless the fee is not high enough, and he may say, I'll write for you, but I want to own all the music. That's a synchronization license. You're saying, I'm paying you a license fee to synchronize Aaron's songs in my game. But if you're paying him enough money, hopefully, then Aaron can say, I'll let you retain ownership, but I'll want to reserve my writer's share of the royalties. Very important. Okay, and that's how you make sure that even though they're the owner of the song, you can still receive your royalties, and that's an important thing because more and more, as we're seeing, games are being used, TV, video games live, like in elsewhere, online. They are also owner of the master as well, so that means that they have the right to go out there and sell soundtracks. They have the right to synchronize the recording and get income from that. Okay, so if I'm yes, Aaron?
Oh, no, I don't need that. Thank you. I just wanted to point out that we actually skipped over the most important thing, which is performance royalties.
Did I?
I think you did.
Yeah, I got this microphone in front of my words, and I keep on going like this.
So when you get a chance, can we go back to that?
Well, I think I have it in here. Actually, it's kind of right here.
Okay, good.
All right. So again, publishers who own the underlying work get money from the soundtrack sales. They get money from synchronization licenses, and why I'm here, they get money from royalties for when it's streamed online, when it's used on radio or elsewhere. They need to register the works with ASCAP, and they need to be a member of ASCAP. And I'm going to come to that at the end. And that's very important because I think most of the people that hire you aren't aware that they need to become an ASCAP member in order to be paid by us. There's also royalties on the master side as well, digital only. So there's not a right that they have when it's used on radio, but it's used on satellite radio. There's royalties there on that side. When it's used on the web, it's also a source of income. Yes, Aaron.
Do you track both the revenue, or do you track uses both on the composition side and on the master side?
No.
That's what I thought.
And in fact, is it the next one? No. On the master side, Sound Exchange, that you may have heard of, is an organization that was founded by the RIAA, but represents all the owners of the masters and also, by extension, the artists. Because the royalties that are paid to the master owner are then shared by them to the artists. And Sound Exchange has an obligation under its mandate to take half the money it gets and pay it directly to artists. So as a person that works on music, you are an artist as well. If you wrote the song in your game and you recorded the song in your game and you sing on it, you should also look to see if there's any income there from Sound Exchange, which you can find them online. And often they have income from licenses that they hold on to, and they actually advertise all the stuff that they have on a website of works that they know that they're holding income for, but they don't know who to pay. So there's money out there that you guys should be aware of. Aaron, you have another one for me? He's my plant.
No, I'm not. I swear to God. For the Sound Exchange tracking, is it any online use of the master, or is it restricted to some form of non-interactive, or how does that? Yeah.
Very good.
When does? No, it's very confusing, actually.
I'm thinking about how to answer this. I mean, it doesn't involve ASCAP, so I'm answering on behalf of an organization that I'm not up here representing. But basically, there are different rules where if it's as you implied, there are different rules if it's interactive or non-interactive. I know if it's non-interactive, that Sound Exchange definitely will be able to license that and pay on it. For instance, if you have an internet radio station, that's a non-interactive use, and that's where Sound Exchange gets most of its income. If it is interactive, meaning that I go on to iTunes and I hit a sample of a song before I hear it, there's a digital right there, but Sound Exchange may or may not be involved in that based upon the rights that the master owners had already assigned to that retailer. How's that? This thing. All right, there's too many words on this. It's actually easier over there. All right, yes, in the back.
Are you regretting taking questions during your presentation?
No, it's great.
Okay.
I'm happy I made that choice, and I'm
as long as we're throwing you curveballs. What if you do a parody of a song? Can you get away with? This is a horrible question in a room presumably full of musicians. Can you get away with not paying rights on stuff?
No.
Doing parody song?
You don't have to obtain the right to do so, but you're still obligated to pay them because they own the underlying work. Yep.
Looking at the PowerPoint, it says you guys have licensing deals with YouTube. Mm-hmm. If you have a game, whether it's console, Facebook's, whatever, that has been video captured, that also includes music from the game, but the video capture includes music from that game, is now broadcast through a YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. Is ASCAP paying out on that?
Yes.
Okay. So
starting in March.
Somebody who has had that happen.
Yeah, by March and April.
What do I need to do to ensure that I'm paid?
Make sure that the song is registered with us, number one, and that'll be on my last slide.
Okay. If you're getting to it, then I'll just.
Well, yeah. I mean, no, but I'm happy that you asked. But let me head through this because
okay.
I'll hit that. I'm on the way out. There's been some real-world examples. Aaron, this is actually an added slide that I added on last night because Aaron said if you can give some real-world examples of video game scores being paid on, that would be exciting, and I agree. A good friend of mine wrote the score to the World of Warcraft, and I switched him over from BMI to ASCAP. And he's received a lot of money. I mean, not a lot of money, but he's received some money because what happened is that they did an episode of South Park, and they used all the score from his game, and it runs on the cartoon or on Comedy Central, thank you, all the time. And so every time that episode runs, he gets income from us. And that's just one example. I mean, more and more, there's an example where EA has actively tried to build a library and go out there and license soundtracks from all their games, TV shows, and films. There's a market for it because people that are working on these shows are trying to get the sound that the young audience is looking for, and they're spending most of their time playing games and hearing the style of composition. So there's a increasing use of video game scores being used all over the place, being used in advertising. So, and that's happening right now. I mean, more and more there's folks that I know that have been asking, when am I going to get paid by ASCAP? When am I going to see how ASCAP works? And it's happening right now. And perhaps more excitingly, because it's brand new, is that we've been very active, since 1998, licensing stuff on the web. It started off as web, like radio, in those kinds of things. But now we're doing Hulu, Netflix are going to be in the next month. YouTube is paying us now, and we've actually been paying out on that already over the last half a year. And as you said, there's actually a lot of stuff up there where people tape themselves playing a game, getting that high score, and it's amazing how many fans of the game will go on there and watch that thing. And so it's enough to generate a reasonable amount of money for the owner of the music as well as the person that wrote the music. And we also have had deals in place since 2008 with AOL, Real, and Yahoo. Games that were all over there, and I've been trying to work with folks to ask you if you have a game on AOL, Real, and Yahoo, register it, please. Because that's money. And one thing that I don't think I said, most of the licenses that ASCAP issues are blanket licenses, which means that NBC, say, I don't want to know what I'm paying for. I just know that you guys have millions and millions of songs and underscore tracks. I want a blanket license for everything. And I don't really care if I'm using money from games or if I'm using popular songs or if I'm using underscore that's written for my shows. I just want a blanket license. So that blanket license gets paid into a pool, and whoever takes the time to be an ASCAP member and register with us gets a part of that pool. So by the video game industry not actively getting involved, and I can't say that that's entirely true because EA and Activision, Sony, and THQ, all the big guys have already gotten actively involved with ASCAP. But there's a lot of independents out there that have not, and that income is just being shared with everyone else. So it's not it's just like money that's lost. Yep, in the front. Thinking out loud. Okay, that's okay. I'm Greg.
Going back for a minute to the World of Warcraft example, was that composer Blizzard staff at
Jason
the time?
Hayes.
Right, Jason Hayes. Was he staff, and does being staff change anything?
Being staff doesn't necessarily mean anything. They can still assign you the rights to receive your writer's share of the royalties. And one thing that I didn't make a slide for that I think is necessary, that I think that you're going to speak to, is that there's basically two parts of the income there. There's the writer's share of the income, which is half, and publisher's share, which is half. When ASCAP pays out, we insist that we pay it equally half and half to each side. We will not pay publishers the writer's share of the half. That's the mandate that ASCAP has. So EA, which they don't, and I'm just using them because I have friends at EA, so I'm sure they wouldn't mind if I use them as an example. They would never try to register EA as the writer of any of their works because they understand how ASCAP works. In order for us to have a valid registration, we need to have a human as the writer. It's an important thing, and if there's not a human as a writer, then we don't recognize it. So I'm not sure if that asks what, or if that answers what you asked. But.
Yeah, well, basically your answer, I think, was that that can be assigned by the publisher.
Right.
I mean,
if you're a staffer, then everything that you do they own by the nature of your employee, with them. But that doesn't include you like necessarily from being able to receive the writer's share of the royalties when your score is being used.
Right. And if you're not employed by them,
Then it's a work
it's
for
still
hire.
a work for hire, and that they own it
It's
either
kind of
way.
the same deal.
Same thing.
Yeah, it is. It's it doesn't really matter to ASCAP.
But that has to be spelled out in a contract, I guess.
It does.
To get the
And
writer's share.
Mona's going to speak to that right
Yes.
now, almost.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep, over here.
So I don't want to get too esoteric here, but I'm getting curious about cue sheets. So I
It's
have
not
a-
esoteric. That's good.
What?
That's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Okay, and I have a little bit different case, but it could be the same soon. So I have a music library, and if our music is used in a game, and then it gets out onto YouTube or anything you're describing, how is ASCAP going to identify my music?
So far, we don't
actually,
have a
it's the same thing
format
with the
for that yet. We're like working on that. I have a group of people, Jack Wall and Tellerico, and people that have been involved in the industry for like a long time. We had a meeting later last year, and we should meet again this year. In fact, it could have been in the spring. And we talked about that amongst a number of issues that that we need to like address. But how we're doing it right now is that you should like register each track that's used in the game. That might be kind of a pain in the butt, but that's just like what we have right now.
Now, but you mean
Or
the
you can,
publisher.
or you can like register it as a compilation. So if you wrote all the underscore in a game, you could just say, here's the name of the game score, and it's mine.
No, but I'm asking, see, if I have a music library piece that's used in a game.
Well, then the library piece is going to be like registered anyway. YouTube has a fingerprinting.
I'm not talking about all my stuff is registered already.
Right.
That's not a problem. I'm saying, how does ASCAP, once it gets down to YouTube,
How does
how
ASCAP
do they
know that
identify
it's
that piece
used
of
in the
music?
game?
That's
In
all I-
YouTube specifically, they have a proprietary software application that recognizes the waveform of the audio, and you need to additionally, in like registering your work with ASCAP, you also need to upload your song with them so that they know that it's yours.
Right, which I've done. I'm just asking if I have to, when I issue a synchronization license to a game company, do I have to now ask for a cue sheet?
No, because we don't have that really established yet.
doesn't matter
Because it's
yet. Okay,
interactive,
got it.
and
Okay.
a cue sheet is a linear
Right.
document.
Okay.
Yep, in the back.
I think there's something crucial I'm not grasping here. So I make
Ask.
I make a game,
Okay. Uh-huh.
and I have music in the game. I register my music with ASCAP.
Right.
Somebody plays my game and uses Fraps to screen cap their play experience. They do like a Let's Play video on
Right.
YouTube. So there's a bunch of these Let's Play videos. So ASCAP is sort of monitoring YouTube and detecting where music tracks are getting played, and determines that because that music is getting played on YouTube in that person's Let's Play video, money is owed to the creator of the music, correct? Yeah?
Almost correct. They actually are like monitoring themselves, and then they send us information about all the music that they've
Oh,
been able
YouTube's
to
doing
ID.
their own monitoring.
So
Okay.
we get like a report. Here's all the music. Here's the number of times that it was used.
So here's the crucial piece that I'm missing. The people who rip the video from the game and make the Let's Play video, say they get like something, they 200,000 views on their video. They're not getting any money. Where does the money come from? Who's paying?
I'm sorry, who's not getting any money?
The person who uses Fraps to do a Let's Play video,
Mm-hmm.
it's just some fan, and says, hey, this is kind of cool
Oh,
game.
okay, sorry.
So they're not getting any cash. They're just
Right.
throwing it up and showing it to their friends or whatever. So where does the
YouTube
money
is
flow?
paying us a blanket license for all the music that's on everywhere. So it's just, and then we look at the number of plays. Because there's so much on there, I'll be honest with you, 200,000 plays is
It's
about
not
what
much.
you would need to get paid anything.
Right.
Because they have billions and billions and billions of stuff up there.
So is that why YouTube is motivated to use their listening software to
Yes.
strip out soundtracks so they don't
Well,
have to pay?
there's a whole bunch of different rights there. So I kind of like went through. It's a bundle of rights, and we're just one aspect of it. So if a record label doesn't want, or a video game entity doesn't want that to be on there, they can say, I don't want my score from my game to be seen on your site, take it down. or they can say, we'll pay you for it. And what they've been doing is they've been putting advertising around certain, certain videos that have gotten like a lot of plays, and then they're sharing in the advertising revenue to the master owner.
But but if the money is coming from YouTube to pay ASCAP, which gets out to the creator, is there not a motivation by YouTube then to do as much takedown and stripping of the audio?
No, because then no one would go on the site.
Oh, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay.
I mean, the music is bringing, like an audience.
Right, I get it.
And that's the whole idea.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be the last question.
Okay, I think I'm done anyway.
So I heard a rumor that ASCAP is now also has something to do with music in adult films. Is that correct?
All right, very funny.
No, seriously.
Really?
Somebody, I actually heard this several months ago,
Yeah.
and I've scored over 40 some odd adult films.
Anything that's music, we don't care. I mean, it can be church hymns, like wah-wah pedal stuff from 70s porn. We're all about it.
Yeah. That's all.
We represent it all. Yeah. All right. So again, just important last note. Make sure that the guys that you're working with join ASCAP as publishers, and that they understand all this stuff, and that there's money there. 50% of the money is theirs. Their best friend in securing that is you, because you know how this stuff works, and you'll be the ones calling me saying, Shawn, why am I not getting paid? And then when you get paid, they also get paid. It's automatic. Thank you.